Fabrizio Romano reveals Manchester United's transfer priorities. United will make a number of summer signings, according to David Ornstein. United are looking to move on quickly after missing out on Quenda by moving for Roger Fernandes. Real Madrid are on alert for Kobbie Mainoo, and Amad Diallo could be back quicker than expected, and Ruben Amorim confirms Mason Mount will be on the bench this weekend. All this plus more in today's video as we run through all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, smash a like on the video and let's jump straight into it. So let's kick off with all the transfer talk. So Manchester United have started internal conversations to prepare for the summer transfer window. They are still waiting to advance on deals, but the overall view will be clear soon, with Ruben Amorim and the club's management now together on a weekly basis to prepare the plan for the upcoming months. And I wonder why that's if that's why we're getting linked to so many players at the moment, considering the time of month we're in March. But I do think there's a lot going on behind the scenes where we're making inquiries, we're maybe speaking to agents and players, and all of that kind of stuff is getting linked through various sources. But Romano confirming that they're now in their kind of meeting stage, preparation stage, in order to hopefully kind of see where we go going forward in the transfer window. Obviously, it's still a little bit up in the air at the moment, though, because we need to know what budget we've got. We won't know that until we know whether we're going to, win the Europa League and get Champions League football or not. The internal opinion is that at the club is that with an important season ahead and many games to play, one more central defender may be important to help with the rotation if they can find the right player to sign in terms of investment, experience and quality. Man United directors have recently started making some calls to inquire about centre-backs available in the summer. So we've been linked recently with Yusuf Akcicek, which I've been bringing you. Juan Jimenez is another one. Tobias Ramirez the other day, another young defender. Diamandi recently. Branthwaite was a player we were in for last summer, although there's no real kind of links as well. So I think that's why we're getting linked with all these centre-backs, because maybe we are making inquiries and we are looking to bring in at least one more centre-back in the summer, by the sounds of things, according to Fabrizio Romano, that they're discussing it internally. You think Evans is going, Lindelof's going, question marks around Maguire's longevity with him being kind of 32 now, I believe. Obviously, I think we were all right. We've got Dilip, Mazraoui, Euro heaven at the moment. But yeah, really interesting. I know some of you were mentioning in yesterday's video actually that you don't think that we need another centre-back, but Man United officials seem to, and Ruben Amorim seems to be the opposite, where they are potentially looking at one more centre-back, which is why maybe we're getting linked to these sort of young, developmental, up-and-coming kind of centre-halves as well, so that would make sense. Man United remain convinced about the priority targets, including a new striker and at least one more offensive player to play behind the number 9 next season. While in midfield, there could also be movements with an exit for Casemiro expected to happen this summer. So again, Romano saying that the priority transfer targets include a new striker, at least one more offensive player to play behind the 9, so a 10, while the midfield and Casemiro is expected to leave in the summer as well, so that's interesting. Ornstein also confirmed that United are looking to be busy in the summer. He said, I expect Manchester United to make a number of signings this summer, and it is unlikely that any of them will stay with their current club as Chelsea did with Quenda. So what he's saying, we're not going to sign a player and then loan him back to their club. Essentially, we need players to come in. But also, the right wing back position may not be the top of their summer agenda, which is interesting considering Ornstein's the one that broke the Quenda deal or the Quenda news to United, confirming the interest in that in him as well. Now saying that right wing back might not be a priority position. And it is going to be a case of kind of seeing what we can get in the summer, because if Romano's saying the priorities are a striker, a 10, a midfielder, and a defender, like a centre-half, then I suppose the right wing back does kind of fall a little bit down the pecking order. And I kind of think if you do get another number 10, maybe that means that Amad Diallo is going to be penciled into play in the right wing back position, and it gives you kind of a bit of flexibility. Dorgu could play there as well. We've obviously got Diego Leon coming in if he kind of develops and gets fast-tracked into the first team, although we need to give him time to settle. So really interesting that potentially we might not be looking actually at a right wing-back. I think we still need a specialist there as well, because but I wouldn't be upset with Amad Diallo kind of playing there, because you think I've got some quotes coming up in a second about Mason Mount, and Amorim absolutely loves Mason Mount. And Mason Mount's best position, I think, is in the right kind of 10 position, or at least as one of the number 10s. So if he wants and rates Mount so much, then maybe he is thinking about playing Amad Diallo at the right wing back. Now, so just to kind of summarise, so transfer priorities according to Romano: striker, attacking midfielder, so a number 10, midfielder due to Casemiro's departure, and a centre-back. So they're, according to Romano, going to be the 4 priority transfer targets or transfer positions that we're going to be looking to strengthen this summer. Let me know in the comments. Do you think that's right? I mean, definitely need a striker. I do definitely think we need another number 10, a midfield. Yes, I agree with that, especially with Eriksen leaving. And obviously, if they are going to look to finally remove Casemiro, centre-back, it would make sense as well, considering Evans and Lindelof and, Maguire's age as well. So that's maybe actually not a bad shout. Personally, I would be prioritised right wing-back and a goalkeeper as well if you can, but a lot of that's going to depend on budget and sales and exits, because we might be able to go for a right wing-back or a goalkeeper or other positions depending on sales and how much we can generate through player sales to kind of increase the budget and stuff as well, because a striker is not going to be cheap. I mean, there might be some decent number 10s you could get that are relatively cheap players like, Chris Rigg, Mastantuono, we've been linked with a lot. Svea Naipan as well, we've been linked with a lot. So players like that were not really going to break the bank, but could come in those kind of positions. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting. But let me know what you think about that in the comments below. And give us some names as well. Give us some thoughts. Give us some names of who you'd like to maybe see United go for their priorities in the summer. Now let's go through some more transfer news. So Manchester United are not negotiating the signing of Juan Jimenez. Several clubs are following him closely, but as of today, there is no offer. Now that came from a South American journalist, reposted by some credible sources, so I don't know the credibility personally, but suggesting that we're not in negotiations for Juan Jimenez, but we're following him closely, but no kind of offer at the moment. Again, he's one of the names that potentially we could be looking into bringing another young up-and-coming centre-back along with Yusuf Akcic. Tobias Ramirez was linked yesterday, but Juan Jimenez and Akcic are the 2 more credible, I would say. Chelsea will probably go for him now that that's been leaked out in the media, won't they? Like they did with Geovany Quenda. So Manchester United have been in talks for weeks for Geovany Quenda, but can't move fast due to financial fair play. The club needs to sell players first. Geovany Quenda wants to play as a winger, not right wing back. Enzo Maresca was part of the negotiations to explain the roles. Quenda did not want to play as a right wing back, as Manchester United wanted him in Amorim's plan. So Fabrizio Romano confirming that one of the reasons why he's decided to go to Chelsea is because he does not want to play as a right wing back. He wants to play as a kind of natural winger, and that was in the decision making. Nothing to do with the 7+ 1 year contract, and they're going to be paying his wages from this summer as well. Nothing to do with that fact. And that seems a little bit naive. And I know he's young and he's probably just following his agent's kind of recommendations, right? But how does he know that Enzo Maresca's going to actually be in Chelsea at 2026 as their manager, with the way that Chelsea go through managers? So a little bit naive, I think, from Quenda, but it's his decision. He's made it. They've obviously done a good deal from Sporting's perspective as well, and given Quenda, what he's asked for, what his agents asked for as well, which is what it is. We need to move on. Now, in terms of moving on, Manchester United officials are advancing interest in Braga's Roger Fernandes and have previously earmarked him as one of several alternatives to Geovany Quenda. Should United proceed with an approach for Roger, there is confidence in a financially stable package, including a reasonable salary and scalable growth through performance-related add-ons. Now, that came from Sean Connolly, who's actually quite a decent source when it comes to United. I do feel, though, at the moment that the Roger Fernandes stories are just a little bit too convenient, because the original story was broken that said, look, we're looking at Fernandes as an alternative to Quenda by Graham Bailey, and Graham Bailey's not the most credible source. He is a little bit hit and miss. And it does feel a little bit too convenient to me, these kind of Roger Fernandes reports. However, he is someone that can play in a lot of different positions. So if you think back to the video I brought you the other day about Omar Barada, saying that they do want flexibility in the players that they're signing that can play in different formations or different systems and play in different roles. And Roger Fernandes does fit that. He's been played a lot of right wing, can play at right wing back as well. So he could be someone you could bring in to play either as a 10 or as the kind of right wing back. But we'll need to kind of wait and see, because obviously David Ornstein just said that right wing back might not be a priority as well, but he could potentially play as one of the kind of number 10s. He does look very good. I've got to be honest, he does look like a real kind of prospect. But United Academy were also saying a similar thing as well, saying Manchester United are considering Braga's Roger Fernandes as an alternative to Quenda for the wing-back role. Internal talks with his representatives may start next week, although nothing is confirmed. Now, they're quite good sources that are connected to United. Not always the most accurate, but fairly decent when it comes to like injury news and stuff like that as well. So one to pay attention to. I'd want to see a bit more credibility as well. And like I said, for me personally, feels a little bit convenient that we're all of a sudden getting linked with Fernandes the day after missing out on Geovany Quenda. But, sometimes there's no smoke without fire, so I'll keep an eye on it for you, but let me know what you think. As an alternative to Quenda, would you go for Roger Fernandes? Let me know in the comments below. Now, obviously, one of the priority positions that Romano just kind of said was a striker, and lo and behold, we got linked with Victor Osimhen again. So Manchester United are moving forward with the signing of Victor Osimhen for this summer. Now, that came from an Italian journalist who works for, I think it's Napoli TV, or something of that nature. Not a source I've heard of a lot. Reposted by some credible outlets, though, as well. So I'm going to assume fairly decent. Suggesting that United are moving forward with the signing of Victor Osimhen in the summer. Again, he wants an absolute fortune in wages. I do think we're interested in Osimhen, because why would you not be? But can I see us getting him? No. I think someone like Liam Delap, Mateta is probably more heavily linked at the moment than Osimhen. Like those sort of players is maybe what we're gonna end up kind of effectively going for. But it would be nice to go for someone like Osimhen, but it's going to be a big chunk of our budget, and it might depend on Champions League as well. So maybe they're lining up him for Champions League if we do get it, and if we don't, we'll end up with like Mateta or Liam Delap or something like that as well. But we'll keep an eye on it for you. I'd want to see a bit more credibility though, personally, before getting too excited around Victor Osimhen. Now, obviously, Romano did confirm that Casemiro is expected to leave in the summer, so that will free up some wiggle room in terms of like PSR as well. And there's been loads of reports recently around Casemiro. There was one the other day about his agent speaking to like Saudi Pro League or the MLS as well, potentially as destinations for Casemiro. Now, Real Madrid are interested in Kobbie Mainoo as they consider him as one of the great revolutions of the Premier League. With the Man United youngster refusing to sign a new deal, Los Blancos are alert to the situation. Now, that came from a fairly decent Real Madrid kind of outlet. They've got like a large following online, again, reposted by some decent sources or decent places, suggesting that maybe Real Madrid are keeping their eyes on the Kobbie Mainoo situation. Now, would that explain why he's still reluctant to sign his new deal? Obviously, we know they're in negotiations for a new contract as well. All the reports recently have been saying that he's wanted an absolute, wedge in terms of wages, like 200 grand a week, 180 grand a week, and these things. Again, not Kobbie Mainoo himself. He does not negotiate transfers. That'll be his agency. I don't like the kind of whole visual around it, because it's painting Mainoo to be a bit of a mercenary. He's the one that kind of takes the flak, but it's not him doing the negotiations. He doesn't sit down at the negotiation table with the officials at United. It's all done through agencies, and I don't like the visual, because Kobbie Mainoo was going to cop it in the neck regarding those. But that would be interesting for Real Madrid potentially to be sniffing around Kobbie Mainoo. Could that be a head turner for him? We'll have to wait and see. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, there's been some stories regarding Jadon Sancho recently. Now, David Ornstein said the following: there is a possibility that Jadon Sancho could return to the club in the summer after his loan spell at Chelsea, although that was not the original idea. But he didn't go into kind of specifics around that deal. Now, remember, there are reports that Chelsea now want to pull out of their obligation to buy Jadon Sancho. That might involve like courts and charges and penalties and all of this kind of stuff, but Ornstein saying that the possibility of a return in the summer, that there is a possibility that could happen, so we could end up kind of going through like a court, or they could end up paying us some money in order for Jadon Sancho. That's the last thing I think we need, is another Sancho saga in the summer, although, with him, I think he's only got a year left on his contract, so it would be a little bit easier to sell him I think in the summer, remember, the fee was 25 million. I think you might get other buyers for Jadon Sancho for around that fee. Plus, if we got like, I don't know, 5 million or 10 million from Chelsea for cancelling the obligation to buy, you'd only effectively need to sell him for 15 to get your money back, and that would help clubs massively, because the problem with Sancho is not necessarily the fee we're asking, it's his wages. He's on an absolute package. So that could be, one to keep an eye on. I can't be done with another saga of Jadon Sancho in the summer. Like the video, if you agree with that. But right, let's go through some other news. So Amad Diallo is expected to be back on team training at the beginning of next month. If everything goes to plan, his recovery has gone better than expected, and he is eager to come back to help the squad. United Forever, who are actually, can be quite reliable sometimes, but a little bit hitty-missy, I would say, suggesting that Amad Diallo could be coming back the beginning of next month. That would be brilliant if we could get him back. We've got a lot of games, a lot of big games coming up as well, obviously, especially with the fight for the Europa League that we've got kind of coming up as well. So having Amad Diallo back would be a massive boost. Amorim did confirm as well that he's hoping to have Kobbie Mainoo back soon as well. Obviously, they brought the news the other day that Mason Mount is now back in training. Still no sign of Luke Shaw. Answer on a postcards. What's happening with him? I don't even I was speaking to my brother-in-law the other day, and he said that I don't even consider Luke Shaw a Man United player anymore. And I was like, that's a fair comment. That is a fair shout, because he's been, he hasn't started a game for over a year now for United. But that would be a massive boost if Amad Diallo. There was a photo of him actually that in the Europa League game midweek of him not on crutches anymore and not wearing a protective boot as well, where he was just normal kind of trainers. So that's really one that'll be interesting. That'll be a big boost if we could get Amad Diallo back. Obviously, the other player I mentioned there, Mason Mount. So on Mount himself, Ruben Amorim had the following to say in his press conference. I already said that I really love Mason Mount because I see him, I know how he suffers, I know he does everything right, he eats right, his physical aspect is perfect, and he's trying too much. He was European champion, he is a talent, and he is a really talented player. When a player does everything like that, he does, he will always have the support of everybody here at the club. So Amorim, again, bigging up Mason Mount. He is a player that he really, really likes. But interestingly, saying that he does all the right things. It's just luck, basically, or it's just his body's decided to give up on him. In terms of his injury, saying that while he's doing everything right, he'll have the full support of the club. And then he also said, I think Mason Mount will be on the bench on Sunday. We'll see. But we need all the players, and if he's fit, I'll play him. He can't play too many minutes, but 5 minutes of Mason Mount is perfect. And that was the end of his press conference as well. So clearly a player, I really, really like Mason Mount as well. I think he would be perfect for this system. I genuinely do. I think he would be fantastic in it, actually, as one of the kind of inside 10 positions. And like I said, if you could play Mount as the right 10 and Amad Diallo at the right wing back, I think that would be pretty decent. Obviously, I don't want to drop Xerxes at the moment, so I would maybe play, and then it's a fight between Garnacho and Xerxes. It gives you kind of flexibility and a few options. Or maybe you could play him as an 8 where Bruno's playing now, and play Bruno higher up as well. It gives you a lot of different kind of options having a player like Mason Mount, and I do think he fits the system perfectly. But who trusts him to make more than 3 appearances and be out injured again? Because he's just not played at all for us. 32 appearances he's made since he signed for us. I can't remember the last time he completed 90 minutes as well. I'm sure I've seen a stat. I might be wrong on this, so don't quote me, but I'm sure I've seen a stat that said he's only played 5 90-minute games or something like that for United, which is insane, isn't it? And that's the problem with Mason Mount, is nobody kind of trusts him to stay fit for any particular period of time, which is unfortunate, because everything else apart from that ticks a lot of the boxes that we would be looking for. But let's be positive. Let's hope that it's the end of his bad luck. He's had 2 years of shit, 2 years of bad luck, and he's going to come back and never be injured again. Yeah, right. Let's see how it goes. And then the final story I've got for you is that Ruben Amorim on Aidan Heaven said he still has a lot of work to do in the Premier League. He will face a different type of player, and he's going to be tested in a different way. We're trying to manage all of this because he is still really young. So Amorim trying to stay a bit grounded with Aidan Heaven, and I think he's right, saying the Premier League football is a lot more physical and challenging than you know, the Europa League football, which obviously European football is a lot less kind of physical than the Premier League, but, you know, saying that he needs to kind of manage that as well. And I really like Aiden. I thought he looked really good the other day as well. And that's the sort of signing I hope we kind of make. I hope we'd like go into the summer, because I know it's exciting to get linked with like Osimhen's and players like that, right? But, you know, Dorgu and Heaven look really, really good. And they're kind of, you know, the sort of signings I think we're going to make. I think we're doing things behind the scenes, and we're going to go for players that nobody's kind of linked us with at the moment, that are plucked from, you know, like Sekou Kone, for example. That was a signing where we were like, hold on, who's this kind of kid? Very, very highly regarded as well. Do you know what I mean? Like those sort of signings I can see, I think would be more, you know, more kind of likely with Christopher Vavell and Jason Wilcox and Amorim. And I think they're going to look at the data and the numbers and actually think, well, who is the best fit for this system and this kind of play style, and then go for them rather than these kind of, you know, Galactico names, because that hasn't served us really well going forward. I don't think getting all the kind of big name players on big wages. In fact, it's one of the reasons why we are where we are. But I'd much rather be smarter with the transfer business and go for these players that are actually profiled right. And I think there'll be players that we've not really been linked with or hardly heard of. And that's how I hope they kind of go into the transfer window going forward. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. And let me know what you think about all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. See you in the next one.